So excited for this message. Welcome to week 4 of a teaching series called How to Relationships, brought to you in part by IKEA, of course. And in Matthew 22, Jesus basically bottom lines the entire human existence by telling us the 2 most important things ever. So we would be wise to pay attention to this. Verses 37 through 40, Jesus replied, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is equally important." He says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." For the entire law and all the demands of the prophets, the entirety of the scriptures is based on these 2 commandments, which means relationships are everything, beginning first and foremost with our relationship with God and then overflowing into all other relationships as well. So in case you're asking yourself, why a relationship series? Here, let me say it this way. At Red Rocks, we are not a relationship conference that sometimes talks about Jesus. Nor are we a financial seminar that sometimes talks about Jesus. Nor are we a mental health movement that sometimes just talks about Jesus. We are the Church of Jesus Christ that worships Jesus, that talks about everything that matters to Jesus at the intersection of real life and faith, and relationships are at the very top of that list. That's why we do relationship series. And let me tell you what we have in this church. All we are is imperfect people pursuing a perfect God, working on our imperfect relationships with each other. And he wants you to win when it comes to all of that. And that's what we're diving into a little bit today. So let's pray and then I believe there is a wise way to have a smartphone, and that's what I want to talk about today. A wise way to have a smartphone. If Jesus was telling the truth when he said your relationship with God and then your relationships with the people you love the most, everything hinges on these 2 things, well then it's on the screen behind me. Your relationship with your phone will either make or break your relationships with God and the people you love the most. Given access without wisdom, like the prodigal son, is your phone helping you become more authentic, or is your phone making you more and more artificial as the years go by? Like, who cares that you can't remember phone numbers anymore? I'm so serious, because this will do it for you. Who cares that you can't find the closest grocery store without this anymore? Who cares? Because you will have this. You will always have this. I'm not being sarcastic. Who cares if you can't remember anymore? Got other things to worry about. But what about when this begins to relationship for you? And this begins to process your feelings for you. And this begins to handle conflict with other people for you. And you no longer have to go through that painful journey of figuring that out yourself, like how to. It's one thing if we atrophy in memory. It's another thing if we atrophy in the art of being a friend. Heard Simon Sinek say that, like, will this make us worse friends because we get taken straight to the destination without the pain of the journey? Because that's what makes us, and that's what relationships are all about. And great tools like social media, dating apps, it's very helpful and also a great excuse to not have to do it in person. And this will now do it. Like, what happens when this starts to replace community? What happens when this friends for you or dates for you, or like we have this growing, and I'm part of it, like social anxiety is kind of the new norm, like this low grade all the time. So like somebody calls you and you're like, oh, why aren't you texting me? What if what we think is social anxiety is actually social atrophy? Because we don't have to do it anymore. And so that muscle has just atrophied. And so, action step to move from artificial to authenticity and fight for that. Handwrite a letter. Wrestle with the words. Dig deep. Put your heart and soul into it. Because then there will be a frequency attached to the words. Handwrite a letter. Our relationships with our phones, I really believe, will make or break our relationships with God and the people that we love the most. And I really believe there is a wise way to have a smartphone and to be in the world, right? And not hide from the world. but just not be of it. And Arnold Toynbee, I believe that's how you say his name, he coined this idea called a creative minority. This is what I want to see happen. And this definition will be on the screen. A creative minority is a small group of people who, rather than conforming to the dominant culture, live differently in a way that is both faithful and imaginative, offering a hopeful alternative within a declining or broken society. Sounds like what Jesus came to create in the world, but not of it. I'm not taking you out of it. I'm leaving you right smack in the middle of it, calling you to live in a new way, to stand out like a light, like a city on a hill, because the world is watching, and the world right now just needs some inspiration. And who better than the Church of Jesus Christ to give it to them? Because this could be the greatest threat to your faith and the church. Could be. But you know what? This also could be the greatest tool that we have for the Great Commission. The Great Commission has never been easier because of these, because of cameras, because of technology than it is right now. It just depends on whether it's a tool or a trap. And that depends on whether or not we live on purpose with these things, which takes a lot more than having good intentions. Have a phone on purpose.